If you followed my channel at all, you've probably seen that over the last 4 months, I've taken a bit of a hiatus from YouTube. And honestly, it's been great. I haven't taken a vacation since before COVID. So I took the last 4 months off YouTube. I did a ton of climbing. I went to BC. I spent some time in Squamish, which, by the way, if you've never been to Squamish, this was my first time. You should go to Squamish. It's beautiful. The people there are amazing. The breweries there are great. The food there is great. And the climbing, of course, because I'm a climber, is fantastic. But while I was away, right before I left for my much needed little vacation, I put out a bunch of videos on different MLM insurance companies here in Canada. So I did a WFG review, I did a Primerica review, and I did a Greatway Financial review. And as soon as I left, I stopped checking my phone. A couple of months went by. I thought, oh, maybe I should check some YouTube comments. And what did I find? You can see a ton of comments from people that are recruits in these companies, giving lots of negative feedback on all of these videos like these. So it could not be sweeter timing that now in October, I am back to making videos full time. And this is perfect timing for me because the FSRA, which is the financial institution in Ontario that regulates insurance companies, has been doing a thematic review of 3 different MLM style insurance companies since I think last year, October of last year, 2022. And they finally released all of their findings in a very well documented and well researched review. And we're going to go over that review and document today. And a couple things that I want to note. It might seem like I'm quite gleeful right now. And of course, it is nice to, get back at all these negative comments. However, at the end of the day, there's a couple things that I talk about in almost all of my videos. One, I talk about the improper sales techniques using permanent life insurance as a quote unquote investment, when in reality, this is something that should be reserved for the high income earners. This is one of the glaring things out of this report, is that so many of these types of policies have been sold by these organizations. And the second one, which is a very common objection from people in MLMs, they'll say there's bad apples in every organization. You're going to come across a bad sales agent. You're going to come across someone who sold something incorrectly. And I've always said in my videos, that's not true with these organizations. These organizations have a bad framework. It's not the agents. It's the organization that is training their agents to do things this way and have improper sales techniques and sell policies that are not suitable and recruit people when they should have no be in life insurance, recruiting people that have no place, in the life insurance industry, because they'll take anyone and everyone because it's an MLM model. And this report clearly illustrates everything that I've said for years about insurance related MLMs. And by the way, this is not an anti-MLM channel. I do not want to just go around bashing MLMs. That's not the point of this channel. The point of this channel is to be a pro financial advice channel for Canadians to make better financial decisions, especially when it comes to insurance. And sorry, at the end of the day, not working with an MLM agent is probably most of the time in your best financial interest. And I'm sorry to say that, but the report is very clear, and we're going to go through all of it today in all its entirety and all the details and all the numbers. And I'm going to link it below so you can also check that out as well. So yeah, anyways, let's just get right into it. What is up, guys? For those of you new to the channel, my name is Philip Setter. I'm the founder and CEO of Affinity Life, where we've helped thousands of Canadians find the right life insurance coverage at the right price, all from the comfort of their own home. If that sounds interesting, I'll put a link in the description where you can book a one-on-one meeting with myself to discuss your needs. But without further ado, let's get into this. So I'm not going to go over the report in its entirety. However, we are going to go over the major elements and the most important parts of this report. And again, I'm going to link it in the description. Check out the description and you can download this report and see this. And this isn't from me. This isn't from an insurance company. This isn't an opinion of another broker. This is a thematic review that has been done by the financial regulatory body of Ontario. This is the government that is finally stepping in after 20 or 30 or 40 years of these MLMs, just this wild, wild west, selling unnecessary policies, making huge commissions, making huge overrides, having the customer have policies that blow up and it doesn't work anymore and they lose all their money. They have been running the wild, wild west for years now. Finally, after so many complaints and so much negative PR, the government said, okay, we need to stop and look at this. And that is what they've done. By the way, this is only Ontario. They are the largest province in Canada. However, I believe this should be done in every single province in Canada, especially every province that WFG or Greatway Financial or Experior Financial operate in, because I think it's great that these institutions are being looked at now. But one of the things that I do want to read word for word is just the executive summary of this report. And so I'm just going to go through it real quick and read this to you. It's quick. It's only a few paragraphs, but I think it sets the tone for the entire video. So here we go. Executive summary. Buying life and health insurance is one of the most important financial decisions a consumer can make. With many options available, most consumers rely on life and health insurance agents, such as life agents, to assess their needs, provide advice, and to make sure they're buying the right product for their needs. The Financial Services Regulatory Authority of Ontario, the FSRA, has observed sales practices by a segment of the life and health insurance sector that creates substantial risk of consumer harm. Substantial risk of consumer harm. As detailed in this report, the FSRA examined 130 life agents working for 3 managing general agencies, MGAs, quote unquote. That's what they call themselves. They're not true MGAs or real MGAs. They examined, again, 130 life agents from 3 MGAs that use a tiered recruitment model, aka MLM. The examination found unacceptable levels of life agent non-compliance. Specifically, 50% of the life agents examined were found to have contravened the Insurance Act. We also observed other concerning practices that could lead to poor consumer outcomes, including failing to complete continuing education as required to maintain an insurance license, so they're just not doing their continuing education, not sufficiently disclosing to their customers the insurers they represent, not sufficiently disclosing to their customers how conflicts of interest will be managed, misrepresentations to the FSRA, so they're just not telling the FSRA the entire story, they're trying to make it look good, potential gaps in agent training and supervision. I've said this for years, I've said this in many different MLM videos that I've made. Their training and the supervision is next to nothing. There's nothing there, okay? And many instances, this is the best part, many instances where agents were not following best practices, including cases involving the sale of complex universal life insurance policies. I've said this for years and years. I've said this in almost every video. I said not only universal life, but using permanent life insurance as an investment can be incredibly complicated. There's a lot of things that go wrong, and there's so many other tools that you can utilize, such as your TFSA or your RRSP, or just other established tools that are already there. You can wait and use it later if the need arises. It's for high income earners where tax is a variable that they need to consider, but it's very complex and a lot of things need to be considered. And this has not been the case with these MLMs. As a result of the Insurance Act contraventions identified, the FSRA took enforcement action against 65 life agents. 50% of the agents, again, they took enforcement action against. These examinations have further highlighted concerning practices among agents and insurers connected to MGAs that use a tiered recruitment model. I said this at the beginning. It's a framework for failure. It's not that there's bad agents. It's the framework is bad. There's good agents. That's actually the abnormal thing. There are some good agents at these companies that want to do best by the consumer, but the framework is that it's bad for consumers. And it's all here. It's all here. So to address these issues, the FSRA may conduct further reviews and follow up with insurers as appropriate. The FSRA also plans to launch a consumer education initiative, propose new industry guidance, and propose a rule to enhance the MGA regulatory framework. By taking this action and addressing these problems head on, the FSRA believes it will improve the conduct practices of life agents, MGAs, and insurers, and ensure people who contravene the Insurance Act face consequences. That's good. The FSRA's goal is to empower consumers to feel confident that they are getting insurance products that are right for them and their families. And with the current model with MLMs, that doesn't seem like it's the case. So I'm just going to quickly read off the outcome of the report. Just a few things to note up front here real quick. So and they have, by the way, this is, again, you can look at it all on your own. Notable outcomes include, so like I mentioned, 65 life agents, so 50%. By the way, so they took a random examination, 130 different life agents. Of those 130 life agents that they randomly selected from these 3 MGAs, which again were Experior Financial, Greatway Financial, and WFG, 65 life agents, so 50% of them were cited with a total of 184 contraventions of the Act. Now, they also reviewed some client files as well. So they took those 130 agents and they reviewed a number of different files of clients that they had sold policies to. So of that 130, they reviewed 458 client files. And from that, 92 life agents were cited with a total of 1,302 best practice issues. By the way, so that 92, okay, equals 77%. So 92 of the agents of that 130 were cited with 1,300 issues with the clients that they sold products to. 77% of the agents that they randomly selected had problems in their client files. So like you can see here, this isn't just a few bad apples, okay? A few bad apples would be like 10%, 20%, maybe 25%. 77% of a randomly selected 130 people is starting to look like it's not a problem with the agents, it's a problem with the framework, okay? In addition here, 94 life agents reported being part-time agents, so that's 79%, 80%, let's say. 80% of the agents that they randomly selected are part-time agents, holding occupation or employment other than life agent. Let me ask you something. If you went to get your car fixed, would you want to get your car fixed from a mechanic that worked part-time as a mechanic business and then full-time cutting hair or doing something else? If you went to the dentist, if you went to an accountant, if you went to a lawyer, if you went to anyone to get anything regarding something important in your life done, would you want to have that done from someone who works in the business part-time, a few hours a week, and they're doing something completely different the other 40 or 50 hours a week? No, of course not. Like, why would you want that? This is your financial well-being. This is your retirement. This is insurance planning. This is all the things that they, propose to try and do. And at the end of the day, 80% of the agents are working in this part-time. I personally think that's a problem in the industry. I mean, there's a lot of problems in the industry, but I do think that's one of the larger problems is that we're allowing part-time agents to give financial advice to consumers. It doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't get financial advice from anyone else you wouldn't go to a lawyer, you wouldn't go to an accountant, you wouldn't go to anyone else to get advice that's only doing it on a part-time basis. And 80% of the agents in these MLMs are part-time. In 2020, a total of 1,335 policies were reported sold across all product types. Again, that's with their sample group that they did, 130 agents and whatever it was, 458 client cases. So of that, okay, 774 were reported to be universal life insurance products. And that was in 2020. They also looked at 2021. 900 were reported to be universal life insurance policies. 57% of the policies sold. So again, we're starting to see a framework. This isn't a few bad apples. This isn't we're looking at client needs and we're looking to see what the best product is. This is a clear track record from these companies that shows they're part-time agents selling very complex universal life insurance plans. They're cited with numbers of different contraventions in the Insurance Act. Like, this isn't just one or two bad apples. This isn't, I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. That's not what's normal at these companies. This is a clear track record, a clear history of malconduct, of improper selling techniques, and of selling complex universal life insurance strategies, which I personally think are applicable to like 5% of the population. However, they're selling 57% to everyone. So yeah, like you start to see that I get a little bit frustrated, but everything that I've said for years in every video that I've made, you can see now in this report. I'm going to read you a paragraph in this report talking specifically about why is the sale of universal life policies significant. This is not my words. I'm not even going to try and ad-lib and add things in here. I'm going to try and read it word for word what the FSRA has said, because I can have my own opinion and another agent can have their own opinion. Everyone can have a bunch of different opinions. And you're watching this video, you might watch another video, there might be another video, but at the end of the day, this isn't me. This is the regulatory body that governs insurance in Ontario. So I'm going to read this here. Universal life insurance is a complex and specialized product, which can raise concerns about its suitability for many consumers. Examination outcomes indicate that life agents contracted with the subject MGAs are predominantly selling universal life insurance policies. In many cases, these agents are relatively inexperienced. Considering outcomes further demonstrate a high ratio of contraventions of the Act and a failure to follow industry best practices. The FSRA is concerned the insurers and MGAs captured in this report may not have effective oversight processes in place to manage potential risks to the consumer and to demonstrate suitable sales, particularly in the case of inexperienced life agents selling universal life policies. Going forward, the FSRA will continue to assess how insurers, life agents, and other regulated entities are affected by distribution channels and MGA business models, including continuing to explore how industry best practices may outcome requirements in Ontario in support of fair treatment of customers. This is a very big deal. This is a very big deal. If you can't already tell, I'm very happy with the outcome of this report. I'm going to get into a few more numbers here as we go on, but already you can see from the surface, they're taking this very seriously. This isn't just something they threw together advisor and they say, okay, let's give you a slap on the wrist and let's move on. This is something that now has been brought to light for everyone to see. And here's the thing, brokers such as myself, independent insurance brokers that have been operating, on their own with the help of a real MGA, with help of other brokers. But at the end of the day, there's no tiered recruitment model. There's no Kool-Aid drinking. There's none of that. Okay. We've been doing, for the most part, independent insurance brokers, what's been best for the client. Of course, again, I'll say there's bad apples in every group. Okay. There are bad apples, of course, in the independent group. However, you can see now that there is a framework that has been in play for a very long time. And I've said this a lot where I've met with consumers that were sold policies from WFG and these other companies 10, 20, 30 years ago, that they were sold on this promise that it would reach a certain investment point and it would pay for itself and you would have all this cash surrender value and you could retire off this money and it's this wonderful investment that is the secret of the wealthy and da-da-da-da-da. And I would have to meet with the consumer, with the client, and say, no, there's nothing here. Your policy is collapsing. You have no cash surrender value. It was a YRT, universal life insurance policy. It's going under. There's nothing left. You can cancel it and that's it. There's no money. There's nothing. You wasted 30, 40, 50, 60,000, $100,000, whatever it is, and it's gone. And where's the advisor that sold it to them? They're gone. They're out of the industry. Where's the upline that got all the commissions and all of the overrides and all these other things? They're gone. Where's the accountability for WFG, who received tons of profits from these companies or from these consumers? They're still there and nothing's happened to them. And so this has been the wild, wild west for these companies for a very long time, where you can see 56 in 2020 and 57% in 2021 universal life insurance policies sold. You can see they've just been going on a rampage selling these complex strategies, which are touted, quote unquote, as an investment, getting huge commissions, ripping off the consumer, making huge overrides, making huge profits. Nothing's ever happened to them. So yes, I'm very glad that this report has come out and I'm very happy with the results of it, because they are starting to take action and they're starting to take notice of these companies. So let's just get into a little bit of the numbers of this video. I know I did do an overview at the beginning, but I did want to kind of break into the nitty gritty. So here we go. So this is just, let's go over the contraventions first. So this is essentially the contraventions of the Insurance Act. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Okay. So life agents licensed with the FSRA are required to comply with acts and its regulations. Where contraventions were identified, they'll take appropriate action, letters of warning, et cetera, conditions on license. Okay. So here's the numbers. The 50 Greatway life agents selected for examination, 46 were cited with contravention. So with Greatway, 46% of them were not following the rules. With WFG, 62% were cited with contraventions of the Insurance Act. Again, not following the rules. And of the 30 Experior life agents, 37% were cited. So of all three, Experior is doing best, which is great, I guess. Of those three, though, you can see WFG is, I don't have great things to say about Greatway Financial, no pun intended. However, WFG, you can see clearly from the numbers, 62% were cited with contraventions. Now let's talk about full-time versus part-time. Again, I mentioned it's not in your best interest to work with an advisor or a broker or any financial person that's not doing this full-time. Let's go over the three different companies. So of Greatway life agents, so of the 46 Greatway life agents who completed the questionnaire, 32 of them, 68% reported being part-time. 68% were part-time, almost 70%. Again, no questions about it. Of the 46 WFG life agents who completed the questionnaire, 38 of them, equating to 83%, are part-time agents. 83% of WFG of the sample size is part-time agents. And for Experior, 27, 24 of them, which is 89%, reported as being part-time. Again, you're not going to a mechanic who's part-time. You're not going to an accountant who's part-time. You're not going to a lawyer who's part-time. Why would you get your financial advice from someone new, inexperienced, selling a relatively complex product who's doing this part-time? Just think about it for a sec. Now let's talk about products sold. Again, I mentioned it was 56 and 57% universal life insurance policies sold, spread across all three of them. However, let's get into which one is selling the most universal life insurance policies. In 2021, 46 Greatway life agents completed the questionnaire, 508 policies sold, of total insurance policies reported sold, 368 were universal life insurance policies. So 72%, that is 72% of the policies that Greatway Financial sells are universal life insurance policies. Wrap your head around that. 72%. Do you think that's in your best interest? A very complicated, this is my words, this is the FSRA's words, a very complicated strategy sold by part-time agents who are relatively new in the industry. 72% from Greatway Financial. WFG, is 57%. That's actually not as terrible as I thought it was going to be, still quite high, 57%. And for Experior, the total is 35%. So at least they're doing a little bit better. They seem to be the least worst out of the three. I don't know if you can really call it that. The least worst out of the three. As you can see from this report, there are some glaring problems in this tiered recruitment MLM model, which I have said over and over again in many different videos. And that is just one part of the problem, is this tiered MLM recruitment model where agent training is a really big problem. Focusing on recruiting over training is a really big problem. And again, having this framework of, profit over consumer needs, selling complicated universal life insurance policies, that is a problem. So that's the first problem, which in and of itself is its own thing. And you can see from this report, okay? The second problem, which again, I talk about in so many videos, is the use of permanent life insurance as some type of quote unquote investment type strategy. Now, this is just one report that the FSRA has conducted. There is a completely separate report specifically talking about the sale of universal life insurance policies, which I'll also link in the description, and you can check that out and why they have a problem with it. And again, this isn't my words, this is their words, which is really good to see, because here's the thing, I can say whatever I want, okay? Anyone can have an opinion. I can have an opinion, someone else can have an opinion, and you as a consumer are just looking through a bunch of different videos and you're trying to figure out, okay, who's right? Is Philip right? He seems likable. He's got this mustache. He's got the hat. He's got everything. He seems like a likable person. However, I just watched this other video and this guy says it's an absolute secret of the rich and this is how you get wealthy and here's how you can utilize it and don't be one of the sheep that don't buy it and here's how you get away from banks and governments and yada, 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 yada. And it's hard to know who to believe. It's hard to know who's actually right and whose opinion you should go to trust. And people can be very convincing. However, it's very nice to see at the end of the day, this is not my opinion. This is not another broker's opinion. This is not, someone else on YouTube making a video, their opinion. This is, a government regulatory body who is saying, guys, slow down. These are very complicated policies. They're very complicated strategies, and they're being utilized without any other use of a TFSA or an RSP. And they quote that in many different paragraphs, which I should have read you guys one, but they're all there. It's all there. You can look it up. And they're saying, hold on, this isn't for you. This is a bad idea. It's very complex and it's unsuitable and you guys shouldn't do it. And it's really nice to see them starting to take notice and starting to say, we need to put a stop to this. We need to put something out there. And so at the end of the day, guys, listen, I'm not trying to make this, an anti-MLM channel. I'm not trying to bash on these companies. I really do want them to do what's best for clients. And of course, I'm trying to make it a better landscape in Canada for consumers so they can have more information, they can make better financial decisions, pardon me. And unfortunately, as the framework is right now with these MLMs, I think, it's my opinion, it's in your best interest to, of course, one, not get recruited into any of these companies. And two, as it stands right now, I would not trust my finances with anyone in any of these companies. And the evidence is quite clear looking at this report. And unless they do a massive change to the framework of their company and a massive change to how they're running their business, essentially, I do not foresee it changing anytime soon. And I also do not think that that's going to happen. They make way too much money on this huge recruitment model where they bring in tons of people, they sell to their warm market, whether it's a suitable product or not, and then they're essentially out of the industry, they're done, everyone's made their money, and you are the consumer at the end of the day holding the bag, wondering, how did I get ripped off and where has all my money went? So with all that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you guys have any questions or comments, just drop them below. And as always, if you guys are enjoying this content, all I ask is for a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.